Hello and welcome back to another edition of Damo's Team Talk coming out of round 18. And geez, I don't know what we can describe round 18 as. It was the apocalypse, it was mayhem, it was just everything wrong in 1 week, really. There was omissions, there was injuries, there was suspensions. The SuperCoach gods were smiting us. That's all we can say, really. At the end of the day, it was becoming utterly ridiculous with the amount of outs and what we had to deal with. I pride myself on my team being pretty strong in terms of depth and having cover off the bench. But even then, I was pushed so far to the brink that I had to rely on a sub candidate in order to fill in for a practical donut. So I'll get into that, of course, and more with my team, which you'll see up on screen now. But I'll flick back first and foremost to how I performed overall in the week and my ranking. Of course, if you're not subscribing to us, if you can do so, that would be absolutely awesome. Liam and I, we're trying to hit the 1K subscriber mark before the end of the home and away season. So we've got, 6 weeks left in order to do it. So I think we're around about... Oh, there it is. Hello, of course. We're currently at 896 subscribers overall, so we're 104 subscribers away from our target/goal. So if you can help us get there, that would be awesome, because at the end of the day, help us help you, because we will be putting the monetization once that activates at 1,000 subscribers towards you guys and girls. We're reinvesting it into our loyal listeners and watchers of our content in the form of extra cash leagues for 2024, some merch, and some giveaways as well. So if you can help us out to help you, that would be awesome. And we'll shake hands at the end of the day. So if you can do that, that would be very much appreciated. So thank you for that. So let's get into it. So I ended up scoring 2,327 for the week. Was a little bit below par, as you'll see there, with regards to my ranking. I was, of course, ranked 900 on the dot last week, and I ended up sliding 115 ranks to now sit outside, once again, the top 1K, to sit 1,015th overall. Team value is getting up there. I'll be hitting 15 million, the coveted 15 million mark within probably 2 to 3 weeks, I reckon. There's so much made about, how much your team is valued at. But at the end of the day, if the value isn't on your field, you're not reaping the other benefits. So that's kind of a by-the-by type comment, but happy to have discussions about that with anyone that wants to have a chat about it. But anyway, let's delve into my team. Of course, as you can see there, I'm down to 1 trade. I did end up using one of my last 2 trades heading into the weekend due to the amount of carnage. So in terms of the carnage that I was dealt, so of course Dunkley, like everyone else, he was of course the first one up who was announced as being out. No real surprise there. They wanted to rest him for that extra week. Then we had Decam. In terms of, in my side, I was affected by him. Didn't get through the main training, unfortunately. So he was an out, and it meant that because Dunkley was out and Decam, I had 2 holes in defence that I had to patch. Was able to patch it with Sheasel, but then I had to rely on Dev Robertson, because Matt Roberts in my midfield, I couldn't swing him. Well, I could swing him forward, but wasn't playing. And of course, we'll know about Constable. He's just... where is he? He's in no man's land. And then at the time of team sheet announcements as well, Ryan Marrick had been omitted miraculously from West Coast side. Petrocelli, not much was made about him, but apparently he copped a corky in the week prior. I think he played around about 65% game time. Everyone was none the wiser. But of course, Simo pulled the wool over our eyes, and specifically me, because I thought he wasn't going to play, wasn't going to be a late in. And of course, what happened? He was late in. So that news came too late, because I put the emergency on DevRob, and of course had Darcy Cameron on field. So it meant that, I had to cop DevRob's sub score, which was 29. He only came on, I think it was with about 10, 15 minutes to go in the last quarter. Thanks to that, again, old man Fags. I thought it was bonus 29 points, but as it turned out, I ended up missing out on, 38 points extra. So, Simo, nothing can be said, really. There's so many things I could say, but I won't, because it's bad enough that you're actually having to coach West Coast. So hopefully you can have fun with that. Yeah, that was kind of the kick in the teeth right there, kick in the dick, whatever you want to call it. Probably a bit more towards that those nether regions there. Aside from that, I had to Seamus Mitchell was the other one. So Sam Mitchell, come on, mate. I was relying upon Seamus to potentially fill in. Would have meant that I could have Seamus on field and defence, and then I would have had Doherty in the midfield. Wasn't too bad in the end because I ended up fielding Matt Johnson, punched out a 74. So it's a bit of a yo-yo, the roller coaster, but was happy enough with that score as cover. In terms of the trade, so the trade I ended up doing was Tom Green when it was announced that he's going to be out for 3+ weeks. Had to pull the trigger, so ended up doing that. And as it worked out, I ended up having $100,700 in the bank. And as you can see there, I've got $700 remaining because it literally afforded me an extra $100,000 to upgrade Green to Sicily. And that's what I did, and I thought it was a bargain pick. Sicily being the pod that he is on return. He's in 15% of teams. He was around about 30% of teams, so his ownership has been cut in half. And I thought this is a great time to really get the leg up on the competition, especially this week when so many people are battling for cover, and so many coaches out there had to actually gobble a donut or two. And as it turned out, Sicily smashed out, and I say smash very loosely, a 58 against a lowly poultry side in North Melbourne. But to make matters worse, the reason being was he was tagged first and foremost by Eddie Ford, former player who I traded out. That's fine, he's a youngster. But I thought Sicily would have done better with that. But then the kick in the dick, the return kick in the dick, was Jay-Z coming on and tagging, a forward tag on James Sicily. Like the old man Zeeble. Really? So that was just the first of many, probably the second off the back of missing out on Marek's extra points there on the bench. But hopefully it can pay off longer term anyway. So knock on wood, Sis can turn around his form, especially against, he's got West Coast coming up potentially. He's got St Kilda. So yeah, we'll see how we go. But anyway, in terms of the other scorers, I'll get into it. I guess to summarise, a lot of the primos went shit, which was super annoying. The likes of Zeret, 69, Sinclair, 67, as I said, Sicily, 58. Then we had Lockie Neal, 75, and then Marshall, of course, he's kind of hiding on the bench there for me, a 58, absolutely putrid. I guess the saving grace was a lot of those players are highly owned, so it does mitigate, I guess, the low scores. It is spread out across the competition, but even so, I mean, Sicily, as I said, being a relative pod, and I was banking on him being a bit of leverage up the ranks this week. Absolutely kicked me in the dick, fair and square. But in terms of overall, so Nicky Dacos, again, he was my second, as you would have heard if you tuned in or seen if you tuned into our weekly podcast and vodcast with Liam. We both identified Nick Dacos as a big VC candidate alongside English, who was the best candidate for me. I picked him outright as my number one pick, and he returned in a big way, 173. So I hope a lot of people jumped on him, especially those that tuned in to our content. And actually, I think it takes my captaincy average from week to week. It's teetering around about 135 average every single week, and that includes Laird's 50 from round one. But every single week since then, I think the lowest I've gone is about a 120 potentially. So going pretty well. So knock on wood that continues, and I can continue it throughout the remainder of the season. But like I said, Nicky Dacos, he was up there. He was actually my second choice. Bontempelli was sort of the third choice. He actually scored an extra point there on Dacos, 131. So yeah, it would have been not too bad if I didn't opt for English, but happy enough that I did. Tom Stewart, 104. Dawson back in form at 126. Doherty, 87, thereabouts. Not too bad for him as a bit of a relative D6. in my side. Chin Cotter is a bit of backup if needed. 56, ticking along, getting games. That's the main thing. Seamus Mitchell, hopefully he comes back this week. You think he would off the back. It was kind of strange as well, the fact that he got the Rising Star nomination and then got rested. So just let him back it up, Sammy. What are you doing, mate? Zeret, as I said, 69. Neil, 75. Absolutely putrid. He started the game like shit, and I thought he'd turn it around, much like he did when he played West Coast the week prior, but wasn't to be, especially against a relatively not decimated D's midfield. But Petrarca was mostly up forward for a majority of the game, playing stints in the midfield. So I thought Neil would have had a bit more of a better game, but yeah, it wasn't to be. Petrarca, 4 goals again, back to back. Just flying the flag, no matter where he's played. So great stuff there from Track, 113. Rory Laird, 151. Had a bit of a shoulder knock. I think a bit of a niggle with his AC joint. Hopefully he can get through training this week, because Matty Nix came out and said that they'll just monitor him. Played out the game, of course, but would have been jabbed up and not have felt any pain whatsoever during the game. So hopefully there's no other flare-ups and he can continue, because we don't want any extra worries in terms of outs this week. Speaking of which, Josh Dunkley, hopefully he can make a return this week, and likewise Darcy Cameron as well. It'd give me a full complement of primos, and it would mean that I could shift Sheasel back into defence in Doherty's spot, and then shift Doherty into the midfield with a switch with Constable. Sammy Walsh, 87. He's been an interesting year for Paul Sammy. The week prior, he played his best game I saw live. Went and saw him play up against Port Adelaide on the weekend, obviously, as well. Was thereabouts, but I was a bit surprised that he only scored 87. Callum Mills, 84. Yeah, if he's a sort of an M8, it is what it is. Matty Johnson, as I said, filled in nicely. Marshall, absolutely putrid, 58. But as I said, a lot of people have him. I think he's owned by pretty much 50% of the competition. So if you are in my shoes, there you go, 49%, close enough. If you are in my shoes and you're worried about him, and you have minute trades left up your sleeve, don't trade him out, because as I said, any bad score or good score that he has, it's going to affect both you and the rest of or half the competition anyway. So I would just ride the storm with him. Errol Goulden, he's going from strength to strength. He is in all Australian contention. He's going that well. So tip of the cap to you, Errol. Rosie, 108. Played a fair game. Taranto, 117. Par for the course for him in recent times. Cogs, 93. Darcy Cameron was out, of course, as I said, didn't get through main training with a bit of a back issue. So hopefully that has sort of healed itself over the week off for him. Harry Shears at 103, and glad I kept hold of him. I reckon quite a few of people would have actually traded him out as well. He's actually still in 65% of teams, but selection-wise, there you go, about 3,000. About 2.4k people traded him out. And he's, just look at that, like he's the 10th best scoring defender and forward. So he's thereabouts. He's on the cusp. So it's not the end of the world with Sheasel, and he's still scoring quite well, despite the fact that he's been thrown around left, right, and centre position-wise as well. Plays St Kilda this week as well. So if he plays in defence, he could definitely have a day out. St Kilda, they concede, as we know. I've been speaking about it ad nauseum, but they actually give up the most, and they have all year virtually, the most points to opposition defenders. So let's have a quick squiz at that, see if it's still as strong as ever. And it is virtually 2.7 points better than the next best side in terms of giving up points to opposition defenders. And then also, of course, they give up by far and away the most points to opposition wing defenders. So, yeah, that could be a nice, especially if Seamus, for example, as well. It's not Seamus. What am I saying? If Sheasel plays up, pushing up towards the wing in defence, then that will bode very, very well for him. Dev Robertson, as I said, 29, had to rely on him. Just grateful that he punched out a score in limited game time like he did. It would have been up there with around about a point per minute, I reckon. There you go, 1.3. So he saved the day for me. Good old Dev Rob, but old man Fags, give him a fucking go, mate. What are you doing? Starting him as the sub. He's been playing quite well. So at this rate, you're about to lose him in a trade to West Coast, I reckon. The old WA boy there. I wouldn't blame him if he wants to go back home, not getting opportunities when he should. And as I said, Ryan Marrick, if he gets dropped this week, honestly, hopefully we don't have to rely on him, but if he gets dropped this week, Simo, just hand in your papers, mate. What are you doing? Like, play the kids. Why are you playing the likes of, Gaff? What are you doing? Just so dumb. They should be going, rip off the Band-Aid, go down the youth path. I've been there myself as a Carlton supporter. I can tell you firsthand, there's no use relying on old heads in order to get through from week to week. Give the guy some experience. He drafted him as the number one mid-season rookie draftee for a reason. Give him games, give him some exposure, and then when you start to get trips back in the park potentially next year and start to get in some other talented players, then maybe he might lose his spot with a bit more competition. But even West Coast's injury list is that bad. I'm so surprised that he hasn't been given more of a go. But that's pretty much my team as it looked coming out of the weekend. So let's just try first and foremost the optimize. See if it flips things around. And you'll notice when I did that as well, it actually flipped Seamus Mitchell from defence into the forward line, despite not having swung with Sheasel. That's always a quirk. If you don't know about that, that is a quirk with the optimizer. It is fraught with danger though, because you're kind of like at the mercy of its will. You can't actually change anything after you've optimized it. So you don't want to be breaking DPP links unknowingly by doing that. It might activate it if you leave it as is, for example, and then optimize next week. It might reactivate it and swing one of the guys back, but you just don't know. And once it's done, you're kind of stuffed. So I don't want to be doing that at this stage just yet, unless, of course, the likes of a Darcy Cameron is out. But knock on wood, that doesn't happen. Yes, let's undo that. And let's just do some changes ourselves heading into the weekend. And then we'll go through, of course, our best captain and VC options. So let's shift. Hopefully, Dunks is back. We can go bingo, bango. We'll shift. She's back into the midfield. And we'll be able to work out as well, depending on early games, if we can loop players. And hopefully we can. We'll see how we go. But this is pretty much the team at full strength. My initial trade plans, as you might have seen, I did a late upload, a secondary upload of my team talk video heading into the weekend late last week, and I was planning to trade out the likes of Matty Johnson and Seamus Mitchell, bringing in Sicily and keeping Sheasel as my sort of D7, F7, and then bring in, off the back of Seamus Mitchell, trading him, down to a non-playing DPP player, potentially Allison from St Kilda, who plays the most Sunday games and late Sunday games as well. I think he plays around about 2 to 3 Sunday games, their last games of the round as well. So they're good for looping purposes if need be. So I was looking at doing that and providing a little bit of depth, but of course it would have meant that I got rid of some depth cover in the form of Seamus and Matt Johnson. And as we saw on the weekend, kind of need that more than ever, especially down to one trade as well. We don't want to be in that situation again, and I don't want to be sort of leaving myself too exposed, despite the fact it would have given me Sheasel as my sort of 23rd man, as it were, with a bit of swing between defence and forward line. Again, it would have just left me pretty bare, and I would have had Dev Robertson as my main mid cover, even though I've still got DPP swings with the likes of Dunks, Goulden, Rosie, Taranto and Cogs. I don't want to be leaving myself too exposed, as I said. And the fact that Dev Rob's still being played as a sub from time to time says to me that he can't be relied upon from any given week if we do need to call upon him. So yeah, that's pretty much my team as it is at the moment. And hopefully, knock on wood, I can reclaim the likes of Darcy Cameron and Dunkley. And Laird and whatnot don't have any other niggles as well. So let's quickly roll through our VC and C options, of course. These are the first time that I've actually looked at the fixture heading into next week. I do know my inside is facing off against West Coast, so it goes without saying Doherty and Walsh probably automatically put their hands up as VC options just based upon matchup alone, but even then, I probably wouldn't go for them. But check out our weekly podcast and vodcast, which will go out on Tuesday evening. Or if you're watching this video late, it's probably already up, so go ahead and check that out. We have our trade segment, captaincy segment, where we go through our top VC and C options. Liam and I pick one each. Bit of a quirk with our head-to-head captaincy competition that we have, where we can't pick the same player in consecutive weeks for our top captaincy score. But yes, I would have gone probably potentially, as I said, if I didn't go for English on the weekend, I would have gone for Dacos. So check that out, and it'll be in a little bit more detail. We'll go through, I think we go through best options in every single game virtually for the round, just to sort of round off for those people that don't have specific players in their team, and for those coaches that have other players sort of left field in their teams as well. So let's have a quick look at the fixture on the right-hand side here. And okay, so first up we have Essendon and the Bulldogs. So don't know about Sammy Draper. I know he's been out of the side for the Dons. Nick Bryan played on the weekend. That could be potentially another juicy matchup depending on if Draper comes back, albeit let's have a look at the defensive V position matchup-wise and see if Essendon concede any points to opposition rucks, and they don't. 8.31 is actually the third least points conceded. In the last 5 games, however, they're not as bad. If you go extrapolate that out to the last 10 when Draper's been at the helm, it looks a little bit worse. So having said that, Tim English is in ripping form. Speaks for itself, 173. Let's have a look historically against the Dons. He scored 105, a 204, if you don't mind, and a 123 as well. So he is definitely an option. But as I said, depends if Draper comes back. If Draper comes back, I think I will potentially look elsewhere just because of the negating factor with Draper. But as I said, you can't deny the fact that he's scored a 156, 99, 133, 127, a 130, and a 173. So he's in some absolutely ripping form. Is English. So yeah, if he's up against Nick Bryan, you got to go for him, I think, against the rookie ruck. Just by the by, how did Bryan actually perform on the weekend against Geelong, who they don't have the strongest matchup, but he's got an 87. Yeah, not bad. But yeah, so anyway, English is definitely one. Bontempelli is another. First up, always good to have your VC first up, and if they score well enough, you're doing pretty well. It means you can kick up your feet and have a bit of fun. 105, 123, and 115 he scored historically. And he's been in some good recent form as well. 169, 114, 125, 123, and 131. So I don't mind Zibont. Bit of a flip of the coin there. Hawthorn against Richmond. Timmy Taranto, as I've always said, I don't really like Taranto in SuperCoach. He's had a bit of a drop away in form and should have probably scored more against poultry opposition in West Coast. So I'm going to just instantly discount him. Albeit, how's he performed in recent times against Hawthorn? 104, 100, 111. Nothing to write home about. Sicily, potentially, against Richmond. Are they still conceding points to opposition defenders? No, they're not. Last 10, last 5. Any trends changed? A little bit positive correlation, but hopefully they don't tag him like they saw North do on the weekend. And he can get off the chain a bit and reward all of us that either held him or traded in Sicily. So pull up your socks, sis. Come on, mate. Carlton against West Coast. So we'll just have a quick squeeze. Doherty historically against West Coast scored 94, 131, and 106. Of course, they played in round 7 this year. So a bit of recent form line we can check out to see how they've gone. Last time, round 7, Walsh scored 117. Prior to that, 88 and 124. So, yeah. But as we know, like looking at this here, West Coast concede the most points to inside midfielders in the comp at the moment. And these are the trends still. Yeah, the trend's actually stronger than ever in the last 5 compared to the last 10. So, yeah. He is probably one, maybe potentially look at. Brisbane against Geelong, Lockie Neal, coming off a bit of a shit game. He has to bounce back, you'd think. Been in some pretty good form prior to that, though. 144, 143, 142. Has scored 75, 98, and 128, so he doesn't score too well historically against the Cats. So I'm going to bypass him. Is that the Gabba? It is. Yeah, even so, probably not. No. Tom Stewart. Is there a correlation there? Brisbane general defenders, yeah, potentially. There's a nice little quirk here as well, which I'll show you. Let's just go back. If we go DVP matchup, defensive position matchup, I don't think, no, they haven't updated it, but it has a breakdown of like the main players in each position, so you can see if kind of it correlates with players in that position according to where they're designated in terms of their category, but that they haven't updated as yet, so we can't use that. But yes, so Tom Stewart against Brisbane, yeah, they concede a fair bit to general defenders, so maybe would be a bit more out there of a pick, I reckon. Been in some okay form. Captaincy scores in 2 of the last 4, but I don't think I'll be going for him. So I think at this stage, a VC is going to either go on Bont or English. But let's keep going through. Freo, I don't have any players there to speak of. But as I said, generally we'll talk about the broader players in our main podcast and vodcast this week, if you want to tune in for that. At Sydney, yeah, Mills, maybe. Freo, they concede a little bit of positive correlation with opposition inside mids. No. Port up against the Pies. So Nicky Dacos, he has been going from strength to strength. He's had captain scores pretty much dating back to round of 11 against North, 124, 123, 118. We'll let that slide in. 132, 149, 139, and 130. So, yeah, I mean, they might have Drew as a bit of a run-with player with him. Don't know if he's going to have much of an impact on Nicky Dacos. Let's have a look at DVP. No, there's no real correlation there. So maybe just it'll be based upon recent form. How did he score against them last time? 149. Last time they played in round 2, of course, when they tried to use Jones hilariously to try and tag Nick Dacos. So I don't know what Hinkley was thinking and kind of disrespected Dacos with a few war of words heading into the game as well. So maybe it might be a good option as a bit of a captaincy option. Yeah, Rosie, not so much of a fan. His scoring's been too blasé in recent times, so no. Giants, no, I don't have faith in Cogs. Melbourne up against Adelaide, so Petrarca potentially. He scored 189, which was in round 16 last year. Been in some pretty good form, but again, the fact that he's playing up forward means that he's more reliant upon goals, but they can be clutch goals, and if they are, it can boost his score on any given week. He was, just by the way, the 113 is a complete injustice. Like, I don't know what Champion Data were doing. Made a tweet about it on the weekend, and it wasn't just me. There was many others as well questioning the fact that he should have scored more. He was the highest goal scorer for Melbourne in a 1-point win, so absolutely ridiculous. Didn't turn over the ball too much either. Had like 3 clangers out of how many possessions? 26 disposals, so it was just an absolute joke. Champion Data, pull up your socks again. Anyway, he presents potentially as an option, but again, if he was inside mid full time, I would potentially do it. And then for Adelaide, of course, we have Jordan Dawson. He's reclaimed some decent form in recent times, 149, 127, and 126 in 3 of his past 4. Melbourne, do they concede to inside mids opposition-wise? They do a little bit. In recent times. Let's have a look. Past 5 games, not so much. So maybe it'd just be literally on recent form. And then Rory Laird coming off that stinger to his AC joint, probably wouldn't have the faith, albeit I think he came back on the ground and I think he was around about 115, 120, and he ended up punching out an extra 30-odd points to finish on 151. So tip of the cap to the big square head. But yeah, I wouldn't be too confident, especially with a captaincy in the second last game of the round. And then rounding us out is St Kilda and North Melbourne. Sinclair, yes, no, he's too up and down, albeit North. Probably should say that, and it's probably no surprise there. I should have looked into it on the weekend with Sicily, but they're conceding the least points to opposition defenders. So it's no real surprise there, the impact they can have. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't be going for Sinclair off the back of that. And then there's Sheasel really is the only other one. And no, I'm not going to put the captaincy on him. So I think at this stage, I'll probably be either English or Bont into Nicky Dacos. Pretty much similar to the weekend in terms of choices. The other one, which I'm kind of forgetting about, is Josh Dunkley. Hopefully, as I said, knock on wood that he plays. But yeah, he's facing Geelong this weekend, and he doesn't average too well against them historically. 96, 66, and a 130. Albeit it's at the Gabba. But yeah, no, don't want to be risking that. And that is pretty much that. So that's pretty much, I think that's my team heading into the weekend. Let us know if you have any questions, comments below. I'm down to one trade, and it probably speaks for itself, but I'm going to hold on to that trade for as long as possible. We will speak about him on the this week's podcast and vodcast, but if I was going to use it, I would potentially use it to bring in Georgie Hewitt, but maybe not this week. I wonder if... Yeah, no, it's not going to make enough money, but I was going to say potentially trade like a Marek to George Hewitt and then swing a Dev Rob forward permanently. That could be interesting. But just because George Hewitt now, he's pretty much getting ample mid-time off the back of Matt Kennedy being out of the side. Went from 32 because of the previous 4 weeks he was pretty much the sub. He was the sub, and he played 93 minutes on the weekend for a score of 78. So I reckon he'll probably average around about 80 odd from here on out, I reckon. And for that price point, is it an absolute bargain? And you just know that he's best 22, more so than Dev Robertson. Matt Johnson, again, we're kind of like gambling if we have to rely upon him. But if we could use him as a bit of, I guess, looping options, especially with Mills. If they play late in the round and Carlton plays earlier, we could potentially screen. So we'll have a look at Hewitt's score off the bench and then put Matty Roberts on in place of, say, Callum Mills. It's still a gamble by doing that. And again, I don't want to be using that trade at this given moment. There's 6 weeks to go. So, yeah, it's kind of much for a muchness. 6 weeks? 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, 6 weeks. That's right. Yeah. So I think we probably won't use it until we hit SuperCoach finals, which is round 20, which is next week. And then we'll think about potentially doing it and maybe a down trade of, say, a Dev Rob or a Chincotta even, if I can swing those DPPs potentially. Who knows if I can, to bring in Hewitt. Just to give me an extra sort of warm body on the bench. But yeah, probably prefer to hold that trade if sort of a break glass in case of emergency type trade. But anyway, that is pretty much it for Damo's Team Talk for round 18 heading into round 19. If you have any questions, comments, anything with regards to my own team, my strategy, or anything with regards to your own teams, players you're looking at, anything we don't cover in the full episode of our vodcast and podcast this week, feel free to put it in the comment section below, either in this video or in the vodcast video, or you can hit us up on Twitter, of course. You can do it on Instagram. I wouldn't recommend it because there was a message that was been sitting there for like 2 weeks because we don't check our message inbox in our DMs in Instagram and likewise in Facebook as well. I know some people like to do it on Facebook, but if you can do it on Twitter, that would be great, just because, again, we don't really have notifications turned on for Facebook. Alrighty, so as I said, if you enjoy our content and you tune in from week to week, We'd love your support in terms of trying to get to 1K subscribers. So if you can hit the subscribe button just down below this video. If you're listening, you wouldn't be listening to this, you'd be watching us, of course, because it is only exclusively available on YouTube. But you'll see that ticker tick over, and hopefully we can hit 900. Let's make it a goal of hitting 900 by Thursday when we go through the team sheet announcement live stream. And then we've got 100 subscribers that we need to go in 6 weeks, which is around about, 15, thereabouts? We'll say 15 subscribers a week from there on out. And we'll be able to hit our 1K subscriber mark. And we'll be doing a giveaway as well, something new, I think, as well, that we want to sort of use to celebrate. It's a big milestone, so we'll be doing something real big for that. So check out and look out for that if, of course, we can reach the 1K subscriber mark with your help, of course. So thanks again. Thanks for tuning in. And, of course, we'll catch you in the full vodcast and podcast and on Thursday, as I said, in our live stream of the team sheet announcements. So until then, we'll see you same time, same place. We'll catch you then. All the best. Cheers.